First contact. The stellar horizon hung motionless against the inky tapestry of space, its hull glinting softly in the light of a distant sun. The explorer ship and its crew of 47 humans had ventured to the fringes of known space, driven by an insatiable curiosity to unravel the mysteries of the cosmos. Captain Leela Soren stood on the bridge, her piercing green eyes scanning the viewscreen. A lifetime of space exploration had honed her instincts, and right now, those instincts were screaming. "Alares, talk to me," she said, her voice steady. "What's out there?" The ship's sensor officer, Pedro Alares, leaned closer to his display, brow furrowed in concentration. "Captain, I'm picking up an unknown vessel at the edge of our sensor range. It's massive." Leela felt a thrill rush through her, the thrill of discovery tinged with the slightest hint of apprehension. "Hail them." A moment later, the viewscreen shimmered and resolved into the image of an alien being. Leila's breath caught in her throat. The alien was undeniably female, with iridescent blue skin, luminous silver eyes, and an elegant crest of feathers sweeping back from her forehead. She wore a form-fitting bodysuit that shimmered like liquid starlight. "Unknown vessel, you have entered Zarinite space," the alien said, her voice melodic yet stern. "Identify yourselves." Leela stepped forward, chin high. "I am Captain Leela Soren of the Earth ship Stellar Horizon. We are peaceful explorers, seekers of knowledge. We mean no harm." The alien regarded Leela for a long moment, silver eyes inscrutable. "I am Commander Zara of the Zarinite Imperial Fleet. Your presence here is unauthorized. You will power down your engines and prepare to be boarded." Leela bristled at the command, but kept her tone diplomatic. "Commander Zara, we are a long way from home and unfamiliar with your laws. Surely there is no need for aggression. Perhaps we cooled." "You will comply," Zara cut in, her voice cold as the void, "or you will be destroyed. You have 1 hour." The screen went dark. In the stunned silence that followed, Leila turned to her crew. She saw apprehension in their eyes, but also determination, curiosity, a thirst to understand this new race. "Alares, keep scanning. I want to know everything about that ship. Vega, check our inventory. I want a full accounting of our resources. Finn, review the exolinguistic database. See if you can find any references to these Zaranites." She paused, meeting each of their gazes. "We didn't come this far to turn back at the first sign of adversity. We're going to do what we always do. We're going to learn, adapt, and find a way." As the crew hurried to their tasks, Leila turned back to the stars, mind racing. The Zaranites, an unknown quantity. Advanced, clearly, and militaristic. What wonders might they hold? What threats? She thought of Earth, of the teeming billions who had entrusted their dreams of a greater understanding to the Stellar Horizon and her crew. No, turning back was not an option. Not now, with the greatest discovery of their mission hanging in the balance. An hour later, as promised, Zara's ship loomed into view, dwarfing the Stellar Horizon. Leela stood ramrod straight as the airlock hissed open, and a contingent of armed Zaranites marched onto her bridge, Zara at their head. The Zaranite commander was even more striking in person, her presence commanding, her gaze piercing. She strode forward until she stood face to face with Leela. "Captain Soren, you and your crew are now prisoners of the Zarinite Empire." Leela met Zara's eyes unflinchingly. "Commander Zara, we are explorers, not prisoners. We've done nothing wrong." Zara's lips curved into a cold smile. "That remains to be seen." She gestured to her guards. "Take them to the brig. If they resist, well, the Empire has little patience but disobedience." As the guards surged forward, Leila held up a hand, a final gambit formulating in her mind. "Wait," she said, locking eyes with Zara. "You say we are your prisoners. But what if, instead, we were your partners?" Zara's eyes narrowed. "Explain." Leila took a step forward, ignoring the hum of energy weapons trained on her. "The Zarinite Empire is clearly advanced, powerful, But no civilization, no matter how grand, can know everything. There is always more to learn. She gestured to her crew, to the stellar horizon's gleaming consoles. We humans have a saying, 2 heads are better than 1. Imagine what we could discover, what we could achieve if we worked together. For a long, tense moment, Zara was silent. Then, to the shock of all, she laughed, a rich, musical sound. "You are either very brave or very foolish, Captain Sorin," she said, something like respect kindling in her silver eyes. "Perhaps both." She considered a moment longer, then nodded. "Very well, you have piqued my curiosity. We will discuss this further, but make no mistake, you are still my prisoners. One false move, and your lives are forfeit." With that, she spun on her heel and marched off the bridge, leaving a pair of guards at the door. In the charged silence that followed, Lila let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. They were alive, for now, and they had a chance, however slim, to turn this encounter from a clash of civilizations into something extraordinary. She turned to her crew, saw the trust, the faith in their eyes. They would follow her lead, as they always had. "All right," she said, a hint of a smile tugging at her lips. "Let's get to work. We have a partnership to forge, and a universe to explore." As Leela and her crew set about their tasks with renewed energy, they couldn't shake the feeling that this was the beginning of something monumental. The stellar horizon had ventured to the fringes of known space seeking knowledge, but in the luminous silver eyes of Commander Zara, they may just have found something far more precious. The chance for 2 very different civilizations to learn from each other, to grow together, and perhaps, just perhaps, to change the course of galactic history. But the path ahead would be far from easy. The Zaranite Empire was powerful, its intentions unclear. And in the shadows of the stellar horizon, whispers of dissent were already stirring. Cultural exchange. In the days following the tense first encounter, an uneasy truce settled over the stellar horizon. The human crew, though technically prisoners, were allowed to continue their work under watchful eye of the Zaranite guards. Commander Zara was a frequent visitor, her initial hostility giving way to a cool, calculated curiosity. She would observe the humans at their tasks, silver eyes alert, asking pointed questions about their technology, their mission, their way of life. Captain Leela Sorin met Zara's scrutiny with a calm, measured diplomacy, always seeking to steer their interactions towards cooperation rather than confrontation. She sensed that beneath Zara's stern exterior, there was a brilliant, inquisitive mind, one that might be more open to a genuine exchange of knowledge than her imperial mandate would suggest. Lila's instincts were confirmed late one ship's night when the door to her quarters hissed open, revealing Zara. The Zaranite commander stepped inside, her posture tense, her eyes darting around the room as if checking for surveillance. "Commander Zara," Leela said, rising from her bunk. "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Zara fixed Leela with an intense gaze. "Captain Sorin, I have a proposition for you." Leela raised an eyebrow. "I'm listening." Zara took a breath, seeming to steel herself. "I want to learn more about your people, your technology, but not as a conqueror, as a student." Leela couldn't hide her surprise. "You want to learn from us?" Zara nodded, a fierce light in her eyes. "The Zaranite Empire is powerful, but our strength has bred complacency. We have forgotten what it means to explore, to discover." She gestured to the ship around them. "But you humans, your ship is a marvel. Your crew, so diverse, so driven by curiosity. You have much to teach us." Lila considered this, mind racing with possibilities. "And in return..." Zara's lips curved into a sly smile. "In return, I will share with you the wonders of Zaranite technology. Our propulsion systems, our energy shields, our quantum computers. Together, we could achieve great things." Lila met Zara's gaze, a current of understanding passing between them. A true exchange of knowledge. "Yes," Zara said, extending a hand. "Do we have an agreement, Captain Sorin?" Lila clasped Zara's hand, feeling the warmth of her skin, the strength of her grip. "We do, Commander Zara." And so, an unlikely partnership was born. Over the next weeks, Zara integrated herself into the daily life of the Stellar Horizon, shadowing the human crew in their duties. She marveled at the ingenuity of Chief Engineer Jake Finn, who could coax miracles from the ship's aging reactors. She debated quantum theory with Science Officer Ava Vega, the two of them scribbling furiously on the holoboards. She even joined Leela for her morning martial arts practice, the two leaders sparring with a fluid, deadly grace. But Zara's most transformative experience came in the ship's hydroponics bay. There, among the lush green of earth plants, she met Kai Nakamura, the ship's soft-spoken botanist. Kai was different from the other humans Zara had encountered. Where they were bold and assertive, he was gentle, almost shy. Yet in his element, tending to his beloved plants, he exuded a quiet confidence. "Every seed is a miracle," he told Zara as they walked among the rows of vibrant foliage. "So small, so unassuming. Yet within it lies the potential for growth, for transformation." He turned to Zara, his dark eyes warm. "We are not so different, you and I, your people, mine. We all start as seeds." Zara found herself spending more and more time in the hydroponics bay, drawn to Kai's calming presence, his philosophical musings. Under his guidance, she learned to coax life from the soil, to find beauty in the delicate unfurling of a new leaf. For the first time in her life, Zara, commander, warrior, scion of an empire, allowed herself to slow down, to breathe, to marvel not at the grand sweep of galactic conquest, but at the miracle of a single perfect flower. Yet, even as Zara found herself changing, growing in ways she had never imagined, the specter of her imperial duties loomed. She knew her time aboard the Stellar Horizon was limited. Soon, she would be expected to report back, to share the secrets of human technology, so that the Zaranite conquest could continue. The thought filled her with a growing unease. The more she learned of the humans, their brilliance, their compassion, their indomitable spirit, the more the idea of their subjugation felt wrong. Her unease came to a head one evening as she shared a meal with Captain Soren. Layla, ever perceptive, fixed Zara with a knowing look. "You're troubled," she said. It wasn't a question. Zara set down her fork, suddenly losing her appetite. "My mission," she said quietly. "I'm expected to betray your trust. To use what I've learned here to aid in the conquest of your people." She met Leela's eyes, her own filled with turmoil. "But I don't know if I can do that. Not anymore." Leela was silent for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was gentle but firm. "Zara," she said, reaching across the table to clasp the Zaranite's hand. "You have a choice. You always have a choice. Your empire, your orders, they don't define you. What you found here, what you've learned, that's what matters. That's what's real." Zara felt a surge of emotion, a mix of fear and exhilaration and something else, something warm and fierce that she couldn't quite name. She squeezed Leela's hand, drawing strength from the human's touch. I don't know what to do," she whispered. Layla smiled, her green eyes brilliant with conviction. "Yes, you do," she said softly. "You'll do what's right. Not what's easy, but what's right." And in that moment, sitting there in the soft light of the ship's mess hall, her hand intertwined with the human's, Zara realized that Layla was correct. She did know what to do. She had always known. She thought of Kay seeds, small, unassuming, yet filled with infinite potential. She thought of the Stellar Horizon's crew, diverse, curious, united in their passion for discovery. She thought of herself, Zaranet commander, imperial agent, and now perhaps something more, something new. "I will not betray you," she said, her voice ringing with a new certainty. "I will not betray what we've built here, what we could build together." Lila's smile widened, pride shining in her eyes. "I knew you'd make the right choice." But even as the words left her lips, the ship shuddered. alarms blaring to life. Layla was on her feet in an instant, Zara a heartbeat behind. Bridge report. Leela barked into her comm. The voice of Alares, the sensor officer, crackled through, taut with tension. Captain, a Zaranite dreadnought just dropped out of warp. They're hailing us. Leela and Zara exchanged a look, the warmth of their shared moment evaporating, replaced by cold dread. On my way, Leela said, already moving. She paused at the door, looking back at Zara. Are you with me? Zara took a breath, squaring her shoulders. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with danger. She was about to defy her empire, her empress, everything she had ever known. But as she met Leela's eyes, she knew she had never been more certain of anything in her life. Always, she said. Together, they raced for the bridge, ready to face whatever came next. The alliance between human and Zaranite had been forged in curiosity, tempered in understanding. Now, it would be put to the ultimate test, trouble brews. On the bridge of the stellar horizon, Captain Leela Sorin and Commander Zara stood side by side, facing the looming visage of the Zaranite dreadnought on the viewscreen. The massive ship hung in space like a predator, its angular lines and pulsing energy arrays screaming of power and menace. They're hailing us again, Captain, Alaris said, his fingers dancing over the comm controls. Leela glanced at Zara, saw the tension in the set of her shoulders, the flicker of apprehension in her silver eyes. She reached out, gave the Zaranite's hand a quick, reassuring squeeze. On screen, Leela said, straightening her spine, her expression hardening into a mask of calm authority. The view screen shimmered, resolving into the severe, angular face of a Zaranite male. His crest was jet black, his eyes a piercing amber, his expression one of cold disdain. Commander Zara, he said, his voice dripping with contempt. You have been out of contact for far too long. The Empress demands an update on your mission. Zara stepped forward, her chin high, her voice steady. Admiral Xar, the mission has taken an unexpected turn. Xar's eyes narrowed. Explain. Zara took a breath, glancing at Leela. In the human's green eyes, she found strength, found certainty. She turned back to the screen, her resolve hardening. The humans are not what we thought, she said. They are not primitives to be conquered. They are allies to be valued. Khazar's face contorted in rage. Allies? You dare suggest we treat these vermin as equals? Zara's eyes flashed, her voice ringing with conviction. I do. Their knowledge, their spirit, it is a gift, Khazar. One that could enrich our empire beyond measure. Khazar leaned forward, his image looming large on the screen. You have forgotten your place, Zara. You have forgotten your duty. The Empress will hear of this treachery. With that, the screen went dark, leaving a stunned silence in its wake. Leela turned to Zara, her expression a mix of pride and concern. Zara, what you just did. Zara met Leela's gaze, a wry smile tugging at her lips. I know. I've likely just signed my own death warrant. Leela shook her head. No, I won't let that happen. We won't let that happen. She turned to her crew, her voice ringing with command. Battle stations. Prepare for attack. The bridge erupted into controlled chaos as the crew rushed to their posts. In the midst of it all, Zara stood still, a beacon of calm, her mind racing. She knew the capabilities of a Zaranite dreadnought, knew the slim chances of the stellar horizon surviving a direct assault. If they were to have any hope, they would need more than human bravery and ingenuity. They would need a miracle. As if summoned by her thoughts, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain Sorin, Commander Zara, please report to the hydroponics bay immediately. Zara frowned, glancing at Leela. Kai? What's he doing? But Leela was already moving, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. Come on. If Kai says it's important, it's important. They arrived at the hydroponics bay to find Kai waiting for them, his usually serene face alive with excitement. Captain, Commander, I think I may have found something that could change everything. He led them to a secluded corner of the bay, where a single plant stood under a shimmering stasis field. It was unlike anything Zara had ever seen, its leaves a shimmering silver, its stem pulsing with an inner luminescence. Kai beamed with pride. I call it the Unity Bloom. It's a hybrid, part earth rose, part zarinite crystal vine. I've been working on it in secret, ever since Zara first came to the hydroponics bay. Zara stared at the plant, a sense of awe stealing over her. Kai, it's beautiful, but how could it help us? Kai's smile widened. The Unity Bloom isn't just a pretty flower. Its cellular structure, the way it harmonizes the biological and the crystalline, I think it could be the key to a new kind of energy. A kind of energy that could power shields strong enough to withstand even a zarinite dreadnought. Leela's eyes widened. Kai, are you certain? Kai nodded. I am. But there's a catch. To unlock its potential, we need both human and zarinite technology. We need to work together. Zara felt a thrill run through her. This was it. This was the miracle they needed. She turned to Leela, her silver eyes bright. Captain, with your permission, I'd like to lend my knowledge to this project. If Kai is right, this could be the key not just to our survival, but to a new era of cooperation between our peoples. Leela smiled, pride shining in her eyes. Permission granted, Commander. Let's get to work. Over the next feathered hours, the Stellar Horizons science labs became a hive of activity. Kai and Zara worked side by side, their respective expertise in botany and crystal technology melding, evolving into something new, something extraordinary. Layla watched them work, marveling at the sight, a human and a zarinite, working in perfect harmony. It was a symbol, she thought, of what their two races could achieve together, if they survived the next few hours. A chime from the comm at her wrist broke Leela from her reverie. Captain Soren, the dreadnought, it's moving to attack position. Leela felt a chill run down her spine. Time was up. She turned to Kai and Zara, saw the determination in their eyes, the set of their jaws. They knew what was at stake. Is it ready? She asked, her voice quiet. Zara held up a shimmering, faintly pulsing crystal, a smile of triumph on her face. It's ready. Together, they raced to the engine room, where Jake Finn and his team were waiting. With shaking hands, Zara installed the Unity crystal into the ship's power core, watching as it pulsed, growing brighter and brighter until the entire room was bathed in blinding silver light. Shields up, Leela commanded, her voice steady. Brace for impact. The dreadnought's first volley hit the stellar horizon like a hammer blow. The ship shuddered, alarms screaming. But the shields held. Empowered by the Unity crystal, they absorbed the dreadnought's fire, shimmering with an unearthly silver glow. On the bridge, a cheer went up. Against all odds, they had survived the first blow. But the battle was far from over. The dreadnought pressed its attack, raining down fire with increasing desperation. And in the shadows of the stellar horizon, a figure moved unseen. Admiral Xar, his face twisted with rage, his hand clutching a gleaming blade. He had come for Zara, come to punish her treachery, to restore the honor of the Zarinite Empire. And he would not be denied. As the battle raged outside, Xar stalked the corridors of the stellar horizon, his every thought bent on vengeance. He found Zara in the hydroponics bay, standing amid the lush foliage, her eyes closed, her face serene. Traitor, Xar hissed, his blade flashing in the dim light. You betray your people, your empress. For what? For these savages. Zara turned to face him, her silver eyes calm, resolute. No, Xar, I betray nothing. I have found a new way, a better way. A way forward for both our peoples. Xar sneered. There is only one way for our people. The way of conquest. The way of the strong. He lunged, his blade slicing through the air. But Zara was ready. With a fluid grace, she dodged the blow, her own hand darting out, striking at Xar's wrist. The blade clattered to the floor. Xar roared in fury, charging forward, but Zara stood her ground, her every muscle tensed ready. The fight was brutal, a whirlwind of fists and feet, of grunts and cries of pain. But through it all, Zara remained focused, drawing on every ounce of her training, her determination. For she was fighting for more than just her life. She was fighting for a future where human and Zarinit stood together, not as conqueror and conquered, but as equals, as partners. With a final, desperate lunge, Zara sent Xar crashing to the ground, his head striking the edge of a planter. He lay still, blood pooling beneath his shattered crest. Zara stood over him, breathing hard, a mix of triumph and sorrow in her eyes. "I'm sorry, Xar," she whispered, "but I will not let you or anyone stand in the way of peace." She turned, making her way back to the bridge, back to Leela's side. Together, they watched as the dreadnought, its weapons useless against the Unity shields, turned and fled, vanishing into the depths of space. A cheer went up from the crew, a cheer of joy, of relief, of unbridled hope. They had done it. They had faced the might of the Zarinite Empire and emerged victorious. But for Leela and Zara, the true victory lay in the promise of what was to come. A new age of exploration, of discovery. An age where human and Zarinite would venture forth together, not as rivals, but as friends. As the stellar horizon set course for home, its hull scared but proud, its crew united in purpose, Layla turned to Zara, a smile on her lips. "You know this is only the beginning, right? There will be others like Zara, others who will resist change, who will cling to the old ways." Zara nodded, her silver eyes shining with determination. "I know, but we'll be ready. We'll face them together, as equals, as family." Leela felt a warmth bloom in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the hum of the Unity crystal beneath their feet. "Family," she echoed, the word a promise, a vow. "I like the sound of that." And as the stellar horizon sailed on, a beacon of hope in the vast, uncharted reaches of space, Leela and Zara knew that, whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them as one. For they had found something far more precious than any empire, any conquest. They had found each other, and in each other, they had found a future worth fighting for. Shadows of the past. In the weeks following the confrontation with the Zarinite dreadnought, a new normal settled over the stellar horizon. The ship hummed with a renewed energy, its crew buoyed by their shared triumph, by the bonds of friendship and purpose that had been forged in the heat of battle. At the heart of this new normal were Captain Leela Sorin and Commander Zara. The two leaders, once separated by the vast gulf of space and culture, now found themselves inseparable. They took their meals together, spent long hours in deep discussion, exploring the intricacies of each other's worlds, dreaming of a future where their peoples might stand as one. But even as Leela and Zara planned and hoped, the shadows of the past loomed. The stellar horizon was charting a new course, but the weight of history, the inertia of age-old conflicts, could not be so easily escaped. Tensions came to a head one evening as Leela and Zara shared a quiet dinner in the captain's quarters. Zara was subdued, her usual vibrant energy dimmed, her silver eyes distant. Leela, ever attuned to her friend's moods, reached out, her hand coming to rest gently on Zara's arm. "What's troubling you?" Zara sighed, setting down her fork. "I received a transmission today, from Zarin Prime." Leela felt a chill run down her spine. Zarin Prime, the heart of the Zarinite Empire. What did it say? Zara met Leela's gaze, her eyes filled with a profound weariness. It was a summons. From the Empress herself. She wants me to return, to face judgment for my crimes. Leela's grip on Zara's arm tightened, a fierce protectiveness surging through her. Crimes? You mean the crime of choosing peace over war? Of daring to imagine a better way? Zara shook her head, a bitter smile twisting her lips. In the eyes of the Empire, yes. I am a traitor, Layla, a renegade. And the Empress, she does not forgive. She does not forget. Leela was silent for a long moment, her mind racing. When she spoke, her voice was quiet, but filled with a steely resolve. Then we won't let her have you. Zora's eyes widened. Leela, you can't. But Leela was already rising, her jaw set, her eyes blazing with determination. I can, and I will. You're one of us now, Zora. Part of our crew, part of our family, and we protect our own. Zora felt a surge of emotion, a mix of gratitude and fear and something else, something warm and fierce that she hardly dared to name. She rose, facing Leela, her voice thick. Leela, I don't know what to say. Leela smiled, her hand coming up to cup Zora's cheek. Say you'll stay. Say you'll fight. Zora leaned into Leela's touch, her eyes drifting closed. I'll stay, she whispered. I'll fight. But even as the words left her lips, a shudder ran through the ship. Alarms blared, red light pulsing through the cabin. Layla was at the comm in an instant. Bridge, report. It was Alaris, his voice taut with tension. Captain, we've got company. A Zaranite warship bearing down on our position. Lila's eyes met Zara's, a silent understanding passing between them. The Empress had not waited for Zara's return. She had sent her enforcers to collect her wayward commander, or to destroy her. On my way, Lila said, already moving towards the door. She paused, looking back at Zara. You with me? Zara squared her shoulders, a fierce light in her eyes. Always. Together, they raced for the bridge, ready to face this new threat head-on. But when they arrived, they found not the controlled chaos of battle readiness, but an eerie calm. The crew stood at their stations, silent and still, their faces blank, their eyes staring straight ahead. And on the view screen, a face Zara had hoped never to see again. Severe and angular, with eyes of piercing amber and a cruel, thin-lipped smile. Admiral Xar, Zara breathed, her blood running cold. But how? I watched you die. Xar's smile widened, a predatory flash of teeth. Death is a fleeting thing for those favored by the Empress. She has granted me new life, so that I may serve her, so that I may see her well done. He leaned forward, his image looming large on the screen. And her will is this. You will surrender, Zara, you and your human pets. You will submit to the judgment of the Empress, or you will be destroyed. Leela stepped forward, her chin high, her voice ringing with defiance. We will never surrender. We will never submit. We will. But her words were cut off as Xar made a small, sharp gesture. Instantly, the crew of the Stellar Horizon stiffened, their backs arching, their mouths opening in silent screams. Zara whirled to face Xar, her eyes wide with horror. What have you done to them? Xar's laughter was a cruel, grating thing. A simple neural override, keyed to Zaranite biohathams. A gift from the Empress to ensure cooperation. Your crew is now under my control, Zara. They will do as I command, even if that command is to end their own lives. Zara felt a wave of nausea, of raw, primal fear. This was a nightmare, a horror beyond imagining. Her crew, her friends, reduced to mere puppets, their lives hanging by a thread. But beneath the fear, beneath the horror, a cold, clear rage was growing. A rage at Xar, at the Empress, at the empire that had shaped her, molded her into a weapon, a tool of conquest. No more. She met Xar's gaze, her silver eyes hard as steel. You want me, Xar? Come and get me. With a thought, she activated the Unity crystal, felt the surge of power as the ship's shields flared to life. Then, moving with a speed and grace that was almost inhuman, she lunged for the helm, wresting control from the paralyzed navigator. The Stellar Horizon leaped forward, the sudden acceleration throwing Xar's image into static. Zora flew with instinct and rage, the ship darting and weaving, the Zaranite warship giving chase. It was a dance of destruction, a symphony of violence. The warship's weapons flared, searing beams of energy that splashed and sparked against the stellar horizon's shields. Zara returned fire, the ship's own weapons, enhanced by the Unity crystal, cutting deep into the warship's hull. On and on they fought, the void of space lit by the flare of weapons, the bloom of explosions. In the heart of the chaos, Zara was a pillar of focus, of determination. She would end this, she would save her crew. Or she would die trying. But even as she fought, even as she pushed the ship and herself to the very limits, Zara knew it wasn't enough. The warship was too strong, its weapons too powerful. Bit by bit, the stellar horizon's shields were failing. It was only a matter of time. And then a voice, weak and strained, barely audible over the chaos of battle. Zara. It was Leela, fighting against the neural override with every fiber of her being. Her face was contorted in effort, sweat beading on her brow. Leela, Zara cried, her heart leaping. You have to fight it, you have to. But Leela was shaking her head, a sad, tender smile on her lips. No, Zara, it's too strong. I can't hold on. Tears streamed down Zara's face, her heart shattering. Leela, please. Leela's smile widened, even as her eyes filled with pain. It's okay, Zara. It's going to be okay. Because I have a plan. And with the last of her strength, with the last of her will, Leela spoke a single impossible command. Computer, initialize self-destruct sequence. Authorization Soren Alpha 1. Zara's eyes widened in horror. Leela? No. But it was too late. The computer's voice, calm and implacable, filled the bridge. Self-destruct sequence initiated. T-minus 60 seconds. On the view screen, Clara's face contorted in rage. What have you done? Leela, her strength fading, met Khazar's gaze with a final defiant smile. I've beaten you, Khazar. I've beaten the Empress. Because I chose to die as a human. Free. She turned to Zara, her eyes filled with a profound, aching love. Zara, you have to go. Take the escape pods. Save as many as you can. Zara shook her head, tears blurring her vision. No, I won't leave you. I can't. But Leela was insistent. You can, you must. Live, Zara. Live, and remember. Remember what we fought for. What we could have been. With a final Herculean effort, Leela stood, facing Zara. I love you, she whispered. I will always love you. And then, with a gentle push, she sent Zara stumbling towards the escape pods. The last thing Zara saw as the pod doors sealed was Leela, standing tall and proud on the bridge of her ship, facing the oncoming storm with a smile on her face. A smile that said, I am human. I am free. Then the pod was away, speeding clear of the stellar horizon. Seconds later, the ship detonated, a blossom of fire and light that consumed the Zarinet warship, but seared itself into Zara's very soul. In the silence that followed, in the cold emptiness of space, Zara wept. For Leela, for the crew of the stellar horizon, for the dream that had died with them. But even as she wept, a new resolve hardened within her. A resolve born of love, of sacrifice, of the unquenchable human spirit she had come to cherish. She would live, she would remember, and she would fight. For Leela, for the stellar horizon, for the future they had dared to dream. The Empress, the Empire, they thought they had won. They thought they had crushed a spark of rebellion, of hope. But they were wrong. Because that spark lived on, in Zara, in the survivors of the stellar horizon, and it would grow, it would spread, until the whole galaxy burned with its light. This was not the end. This was only the beginning, from the ashes. In the cold silence of space, the escape pod drifted. Its outer hull was scorched and pitted, a testament to the fiery death of the stellar horizon. Inside, huddled in the dim emergency lighting, the survivors of the once proud ship clung to each other, shock and grief etched into every face. At the center of the group, Commander Zara sat, her eyes distant, her heart a leaden weight in her chest. Lila was gone. The woman who had shown her a new way, who had taught her the meaning of courage, of love, gone in a blaze of defiance and sacrifice. The pod's comm system crackled to life, jolting Zara from her reverie. A voice, distorted by static but unmistakable in its cruel authority, filled the small space. Survivors of the stellar horizon, this is Admiral Xar of the Zarinite Imperial Fleet. You are now prisoners of the Zarinite Empire. Prepare to be boarded. A ripple of fear passed through the group. They had escaped the destruction of their ship, but now they faced a fate perhaps worse than death, life as captives of the ruthless Zarinites. But Zara stood, her grief hardening into resolve. "No," she said, her voice quiet but filled with a steely determination. "We will not be prisoners. We will not submit." She turned to face the others, her silver eyes bright in the dimness. "Leela gave her life so that we might live, so that we might continue the fight. We cannot let her sacrifice be in vain." A murmur of assent passed through the group, heads nodding, spines straightening. They were broken, battered, but not beaten. Not yet. Zara moved to the pod's control panel, her fingers flying over the keys. "I'm broadcasting a distress signal on all frequencies. If there are any friendly ships in range, they'll hear it." She paused, her gaze distant, as if seeing something beyond the confines of the pod. "And there's something else. Before the end, Lola gave me a set of coordinates. A secret," she said, "known only to her. A place of safety, of refuge." She input the coordinates, and the pod's engines hummed to life. "We have to trust her. We have to believe." As the pod accelerated away from the wreckage of the stellar horizon, away from the looming threat of the Zarinite fleet, a new sense of purpose settled over the survivors. They had lost much, but they still had each other. They still had hope. Days turned into weeks as the pod traveled through the void, its occupants falling into a tense routine of rationing supplies, monitoring for pursuit, tending to each other's physical and emotional wounds. Zara found herself in the role of leader, the mantle of command settling onto her shoulders as if it had always been there. She kept the survivors focused, determined, united in their shared goal of survival and of revenge. And then, after an eternity of anxious travel, the pod's sensors picked up a signal. A ship, approaching their position, but not a Zarinite ship. "This is Captain Jack Stryker of the independent frigate Starfire," a voice crackled over the comm. "We've received your distress signal and are here to assist. Please identify yourself." Zara felt a surge of relief, of gratitude so strong it brought tears to her eyes. "This is Commander Zara, formerly of the Stellar Horizon. We've lost our ship. We've lost so much. We request sanctuary." There was a pause, heavy with unspoken understanding. Then, "Sanctuary granted, Commander. Prepare for docking." As the pod maneuvered towards the Starfire's waiting hangar bay, Zara felt a hand on her shoulder. It was Kai, the gentle botanist, his eyes filled with a quiet strength. "You've led us this far," he said softly. "You've kept us alive, kept us together. Leela would be proud." Zara placed her hand over Kai's, a small, sad smile on her lips. "She'd be proud of all of us, and she'd want us to keep going, to keep fighting." The pod settled into the Starfire's hangar with a gentle thud, and the survivors of the Stellar Horizon stepped out into a new chapter. They were greeted by Captain Riker and his crew, a ragtag assembly of humans and aliens united by a common distrust of the Zarinite Empire and its expansionist aggression. Among them, to Zara's shock and joy, were familiar faces: Engineer Jake Finn, Science Officer Ava Vega, Navigator Pedro Alares. They had been on other escape pods, scattered by the blast, but they had found their way here, drawn by the same distress signal, the same promise of refuge. Reunions were tearful, joyous even in the shadow of their shared grief. Together, the survivors of the stellar horizon were escorted to the Starfire's mess hall, where hot food and drink awaited, the first real comfort they had known in weeks. As they ate and talked, exchanging stories of escape and survival, Captain Riker shared his own tale. The Starfire, he explained, was part of a loose network of resistance, a hidden alliance of those who had been wronged or threatened by the Zarinite Empire. "We've been fighting them for years," he said, his eyes hard. "Raiding their supply lines, freeing their prisoners, sabotaging their expansion efforts. But it's been a losing battle. They're too strong, too ruthless." He leaned forward, his gaze intense. "But with you, with what you know, what you've seen, we might stand a chance. We might be able to strike a real blow against the Empire." Zara met Riker's gaze, a fire kindling in her heart. This was it. This was the path forward, the way to honor Layla's sacrifice, to make her death mean something. "Tell us what you need," she said, her voice ringing with determination. "We're with you, to the end." In the days that followed, as the Starfire raced through the stars, always one step ahead of the pursuing Zaranites, a plan began to take shape. Zara and the other survivors worked closely with Riker and his crew, sharing all they had learned about Zaranite technology, tactics, and culture. Jake and Ava pored over the schematics of Zaranite ships, identifying weaknesses, devising new weapons and defenses. Alores and the other pilots trained in simulator, honing their skills for the coming fight. And Zara planned, schemed, strategized. Drawing on her intimate knowledge of Zaranite command structure and protocol, she devised a daring plan of infiltration and sabotage, a way to strike at the very heart of the Empire. The target, the Zaranite homeworld itself, and the grand imperial palace that stood at its center. If they could reach it, if they could breach its defenses and eliminate the Empress, the Empire would crumble. The long nightmare of Zaranite oppression would be over. It was a plan born of desperation, of grief and rage, and a fierce, unyielding hope. But it was a plan. And as the Starfire and its new crew set their course for Zarin Prime, a sense of grim determination settled over the ship. They were outnumbered, outgunned, but they were not without weapons. They had the element of surprise, they had the strength of their convictions, and they had each other. And in the quiet moments, in the lulls between planning sessions and training drills, Zara would find herself in the Starfire's small hydroponics bay, tending to the delicate seedlings that Kai had managed to salvage from the stellar horizon. They were small things, fragile and easily overlooked, but they were alive, they were growing. Just like the Resistance, just like the hope that Leela had died to protect. As she worked, as she coaxed life from the soil and reflected on all that had happened, all that was yet to come, Zara could almost feel Leela's presence, could almost hear her voice, whispering in the rustling of the leaves. "Keep going," it seemed to say. "Keep fighting. You're almost there." And Zara would smile, even as tears traced down her cheeks. She would keep going. She would keep fighting. For Leela, for the future they had dreamed of. They were almost there. Into the fire, the Zarinite homeworld loomed before them, a sphere of mottled green and blue, its surface obscured by swirling clouds. It was beautiful, in a harsh, forbidding way, a world that had shaped a harsh, forbidding people. On the bridge of the Starfire, Zara stood, her eyes fixed on the viewscreen, her heart pounding a drumbeat of anticipation and dread. This was it, the culmination of all their planning, all their hopes and fears, the moment of truth. Around her, the crew of the Starfire, a crew that now included the survivors of the stellar horizon, buzzed with activity, each person focused on their role in the coming mission. Jake and Ivo were in the engine room, coaxing every last ounce of power from the ship's straining reactors. Alores was at the helm, his hands steady on the controls, ready to maneuver them through the gauntlet of defenses that surely awaited them. And Kai was in the hydroponics bay, tending to his precious plants. "They're our future," he had said, his gentle eyes fierce with conviction. "No matter what happens down there, life will find a way. It always does." Zara drew strength from their presence, from their unwavering commitment to the cause. They had come so far, endured so much. They would not falter now. Captain Riker's voice crackled over the comm, tense but controlled. "We're approaching the drop zone. Stealth fields engaged. They haven't spotted us yet." Zara nodded, though Riker couldn't see her. The Starfire's stealth technology, a patchwork of scavenged parts and jury-rigged enhancements, was their key to getting close to the Imperial Palace undetected. But it wouldn't hide them forever. They had to move fast. "Infiltration team, to the shuttle bay," Zara ordered, her voice ringing with authority. "It's time." The infiltration team, Zara, Jake, Ava, and a handful of Riker's most skilled operatives, gathered in the shuttle bay, checking their weapons, their equipment, the false Zarinite uniforms that would hopefully allow them to blend in once they were planetside. Zara felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see Alares, his usually jovial face somber. "Bring them hell, Commander," he said quietly. "For Leela, for all of us." Zara clasped his hand, a lump in her throat. "I will, I promise." Then they were in the shuttle, rocketing towards the planet's surface, the Starfire vanishing behind them as it maneuvered to its holding position, ready to extract them, or to unleash hell on the Imperial defenses should the need arise. They landed in a secluded valley, the shuttle's camouflage netting rendering it all but invisible against the rocky terrain. Zara and her team emerged, blinking in the harsh light of the Zarinite sun, the air thick and acrid in their lungs. "The palace is 5 clicks north," Jake said, consulting his scanner. "If our intel is right, there should be a service entrance, lightly guarded." Zara nodded, adjusting her stolen uniform. "Then let's not waste any time. Move out." The journey to the palace was tense, each member of the team hyper-alert for any sign of detection. But their disguises held, and they passed the occasional Zarinite patrol without incident. As they neared the service entrance, however, their luck ran out. A guard, his hand already reaching for his comm, stepped out from the shadows. "You there, identify yourselves." Zara reacted instinctively. In a blur of motion, she closed the distance, her hand striking like a snake. There was a sickening crunch, and the guard crumpled, his neck twisted at an unnatural angle. The others stared at her, shock and a hint of fear in their eyes. Zara felt a twinge of guilt, of revulsion at the ease with which she had taken a life. But there was no time for second thoughts. They had to keep moving. They slipped into the palace, navigating the labyrinthine halls with the aid of Jake's scanner and Zara's intimate knowledge of Zarinite architecture. They encountered resistance, isolated guards, easily dispatched, but nothing they couldn't handle. And then, as they rounded a corner, they found themselves face to face with a figure out of Zara's nightmares. Admiral Xar, he stood before them, flanked by a dozen elite guards, a cruel smile playing on his lips. "Commander Zara," he purred. "How predictable. Did you really think you could infiltrate the very heart of the Empire undetected?" Zara's blood ran cold. It had been a trap. All of it. The lax security, the ease of their progress. Xar had been waiting for them. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm her, Zara felt a new resolve harden within her. They had come too far to fail now. "You're too late, Xar," she said, her voice ringing with defiance. "The Empress will fall. The Empire will crumble. And you will die, knowing that you failed to stop it." Xar's face contorted in rage, impudent to the last. "But no matter. You will die here, Zara. You and your pathetic band of rebels." He gestured to his guards. "Kill them." And then all hell broke loose. Zara and her team fought like demons, their weapons blazing, their bodies a whirlwind of deadly motion. But Xar's guards were elite for a reason, and they outnumbered the rebels 2-1. One by one, Zara's companions fell. Ava, a searing hole burned through her chest. Jake, his legs shattered by a grenade. The others, cut down in sprays of blood and sizzling energy. until only Zara remained, battered and bleeding, standing over the bodies of her fallen comrades. Xar approached her, his blade drawn, a triumphant sneer on his face. "And so it ends," he gloated. "The great Zara, last hope of the rebellion, kneeling before me, broken and defeated." Zara spat blood, her eyes blazing with unquenched fire. "I will never kneel to you." And with a final, desperate surge of strength, she lunged, her own blade slicing through the air, only to be met by Xar's, in a ringing clash of metal on metal. They dueled, blades flashing, sparks flying. Zara was exhausted, each breath a ragged gasp, each movement a symphony of pain. But still she fought, driven by a force beyond mere determination. For Leela, for the stellar horizon, for every soul ground beneath the heel of Zarinite oppression. But it wasn't enough. Xar was too strong, too skilled. With a final, savage blow, he sent Zara's blade flying from her grip. She fell to her knees, spent, defeated. Xar stood over her, his blade poised at her throat. "Any last words, traitor?" Zara looked up at him, a strange calm setting over her. "Just 3, she whispered. And then, with a speed that belied her battered state, she reached out and activated the hidden detonator on her belt. The world went white. A roar, louder than the end of the universe, filled her ears. And then, silence, darkness, peace. Zara floated in that void, detached from pain, from fear, from regret. She had done it. She had made her sacrifice, just as Leela had before her. The imperial palace, the heart of the Zarinite war machine, gone. The empress, the architect of so much suffering, gone. The empire would survive for a time, but it was broken, rudderless. The resistance would grow. The seeds that Leela and Zara and so many others had planted with their blood and their courage would sprout, would bloom. A new era was dawning, an era of hope, of freedom. And as Zara drifted in that infinite peace, she could almost see it. A future bright and gleaming. A future where the sacrifices of the stellar horizon, of the starfire, of every brave soul who had dared to dream of something better, were remembered, honored. A future that, even in death, she had helped to create. The last thought that flickered through her fading consciousness was one of joy, of profound contentment. "I did it, Leela," she whispered into the void. "We did it." And then, with a final sigh, Commander Zara, hero of the rebellion, liberator of the oppressed, was gone. But her legacy, and the legacy of all those who had fought and died alongside her, would endure. A spark, lit in the darkness of oppression. A flame, nurtured by sacrifice and courage. A blaze bright enough to light the way to a new dawn. The story of the stellar horizon was over. But the story of the revolution, of the rebirth, was only beginning. A new dawn. The news spread like wildfire, racing from world to world, from heart to heart. The Zarinite homeworld, the center of the empire's power, destroyed. The empress, the cruel figurehead of a cruel regime, dead. And at the center of it all, a name whispered with reverence, with awe, with a fierce, burning pride. Zara. The Zarinite commander who had turned her back on her people, who had embraced the cause of freedom. The hero who had given her life to strike a blow against tyranny. In the days and weeks that followed, as the empire reeled and the resistance surged, the story of Zara and the stellar horizon became legend. A tale of courage in the face of overwhelming odds, of hope in the darkest of times. On 100 worlds, in 1,000 tongues, people spoke of Leela Soren, the human captain who had dared to extend a hand of friendship to a sworn enemy, of Jake Finn and Ava Vega, the brilliant minds who had unlocked the secrets of Zarinite technology, of Kai Nakamura, the gentle soul who had found beauty and hope in the simplest of things, and of Zara herself, the warrior, the leader, the martyr, the one who had shown them all the power of a single, unyielding spirit. The empire fought back, of course. Even without its head, the beast was strong, its claws sharp. But it was a losing battle. The spirit of rebellion, once kindled, could not be so easily extinguished. On the shattered ruins of the Zaranite homeworld, in the very heart of the Empire's former power, a new nation rose. The Free Confederation of Zarin, they called themselves. A society built on the principles of equality, of cooperation, of the unity embodied by the symbol they chose as their flag. A single shimmering flower, born of two worlds, the unity bloom. Across the galaxy, the resistance became a revolution, became a renaissance. Humans and Zaranites, once bitter enemies, now worked side by side to build a new future. A future free from the shackles of the past. A future that Leela and Zara had dreamed of. Years passed. The wounds of war slowly healed, the scars fading but never quite disappearing. And on a small green world, far from the bustle and clamor of the new galactic order, a small group of people gathered. They were older now, changed by the passage of time and the weight of experience. But in their eyes, the fire of shared memory still burned bright. Kai Nakamura, his once black hair now streaked with silver, knelt before a simple stone marker. His fingers traced the words engraved upon its surface. Leela Soren, Zara, beloved friends, cherished leaders. Their sacrifice, our freedom. Behind him, Jake Finn and Ava Vega stood arm in arm, their faces etched with a solemn reverence. Beside them, Pedro Alares, his pilot's reflexes dulled by age, but his spirit as vibrant as ever. And there were others. Jack Strecker, the grizzled resistance leader, his eyes misty with emotion. The surviving crew of the Stellar Horizon, the Starfire. Comrades, family. They spoke softly, sharing memories, sharing grief, sharing joy. They spoke of the past, of the battle won and the price paid. And they spoke of the future, of the work still to be done, the dreams still to be realized. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows across the quiet glade, Kai rose, his hand resting gently on the stone. "It wasn't for nothing," he said softly, his voice barely more than a whisper. "It was for everything." One by one, they departed, each pausing to lay a hand on the marker, to whisper a quiet word of thanks, of farewell. Until only Kai remained, his eyes fixed on the distant horizon, where the first stars were beginning to glimmer in the darkening sky. "We did it, Leela," he whispered. "We did it, Zara. The galaxy is free. Your dream, it's real." A breeze rustled the leaves of the unity bloom that grew at the base of the marker, its petals shimmering in the fading light. And for a moment, just a moment, Kai could almost feel them there. Lila, her green eyes sparkling with that indomitable human spirit. Zora, her silver gaze filled with the wisdom and the strength of two worlds united. Smiling, proud, free. As the last light faded and the stars blazed to life overhead, Kai turned his face to the heavens. "Thank you," he said, "to the night, to the universe, to the memory of two women who had changed the course of history. Thank you." And with a final, gentle touch of the unity bloom, Kai Nakamura, last of the Stellar Horizon, walked out of the glade and into the future. A future bright with hope, a future won by sacrifice, watered with tears, nurtured with love. A future that would forever bear the mark of Leela Soren and Zara, the heroes who had dared to dream of a better way. Their story was legend, their legacy eternal. In the years to come, children across the galaxy would grow up hearing the tale of the Stellar Horizon. They would play games of humans and Zaranites, would pretend to be brave Captain Leela or wise Commander Zara. And some of them, the most daring, the most brilliant, the most compassionate, they would look to the stars and dream their own dreams of a better tomorrow. The story of Leela and Zara was over. But the story of what they had inspired, what they had made possible, that story was just beginning. It was a story of hope, of courage, of the unbreakable bond between souls, between species. It was a story that would be told and retold as long as there were those who believed in the power of unity. As long as there were those who dared to reach for the stars. The end.